I'd like to introduce Elliot Tonasket. He's a silks knowledge holder. He is from Penticton and he's a member of the Silk Okanagan Nation. He is going to tell us about one of his favorite projects, silk forestry standards.
Why hustle halti pisnak siluk and chai squeeze kukalal kintils and Penticton? Why? You guys know that word, why? I just want to acknowledge, and definitely thankful that, we have Snina here, that has been brought into the room. It's really important to acknowledge those different things. It's like when we talk about something or someone, it's important to have that in the room. So we're not talking about them for them, that they're there to allow us to be mindful about our conversation, our conduct, our behavior, our word choice, our feeling. All of those things are important, like what was expressed by my elders here in the opening. And definitely thank you for that opening, Uncle and Auntie. And I guess to start off, I just want to say too that, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert standing before you going to say anything that's going to be so profound, other than knowing that there's ones that came before me that took the time to share information with me. So hopefully one day that I'm in front of some people, I can share some things that they wish to share, ones that aren't here anymore. They had a vision, they had a thought for each and every one of us, even though they don't know your names. They didn't know what you're going to look like. They had a thought for you. And they knew you're going to be sitting in the seats that you're sitting in now, and the ones that are online. In this modern world that we have, the communications that we can tap into and be a part of being people again. It seems like it's really easy to separate ourselves from this big world that we're all a part of, where there's all these tools that really allow us an opportunity to form lines of communication and really decide what it is, the type of world that we want to live in. I can say that if we were to walk out these doors and not go very far, we can see some struggling going on. Maybe even in our own families, there's struggling going on. I know that in our families, there's definitely a lot of struggling going on. But through that struggle has also born the opportunity for encouragement, persistence, dedication, all those things that allow us to do better, something to look forward to. They said that, we can wish for everything under the sun, but once we have it, then what? What is there to look forward to tomorrow? Us as human beings, we need something to strive towards. It gives us a sense of purpose. It forms an identity. It forms a place in which we coexist. I just want to kind of reference a little bit, when we look at these images here, what do we see? We see, that the forest don't manage the forest just for the trees. When I look at that, I see a family. That's what I see when I look at the forest. I see a family, and I see a quite diverse family. They're not even of all the same species, but yet they all communicate to each other. There's different age groups that are going on in this family here. There's different responsibilities that come in this family here, like in your own families, in your homes. If you're the eldest, there's a little responsibility there to share what it is that you had learned about your life experience, what it is that you have learned about the things that you have seen, the things that you've been a part of. And again, to echo what my relatives were saying about, passing that information on to the next one. My elders, they told me that, we're not promised tomorrow. All that we had was today. In that phrase, good morning. A lot of us use that phrase. Probably we use that today. When we seen somebody, we said good morning, right? We told somebody today, good morning. But what was behind that statement of good morning? Did we mean it? And what I mean by that is like, The way that my elders expressed it is that when we were benefactors of this brand new day, when that sun came up again, you know, we were all blessed with a brand new day. Never been used by anybody ever before, nor will it be used by anybody after us today, right here and now. If you're not here and now, you're not going to be a benefactor of this brand new day. And they said that in this brand new day, we can do anything that we choose to do with it. And here we are. In this brand new day, we're choosing to be here. We're choosing to be a part of something that is going to be a legacy, as what was mentioned, for the ones yet to follow. You know, so again, you know, I'm going to reiterate that I'm not an expert. And the things that I talk about, I'm not saying that I'm right. And I'm not saying that I'm wrong. I'm saying that this is the information that was presented to me. And this is the understanding that I have to date, to now. And if there's other information that I'm going to hear moving forward, I'm going to be able to make a decision on how I adjust to the new information, how I adjust to the changes that are going on. Like this family here has had to adjust to the different things that happen to its family, the different things that have happened to our families, and really broke down that fabric that held us together and allowed us to communicate in a healthy way with each other. But through all those struggles that I was talking about, again, that encouragement, that persistence, that dedication, we can start to come back and we could start to fix. We can start to put back together. We can start to reconstruct our families. And in doing that, we have a better understanding about how it pertains to other families around it, around our families. When we look at our kitchen tables, right? You sit at your family and you talk about things as a family. Allowing the opportunity for those things to happen is important. Because when you walk out the door as family and you go in your different directions, that you're consistent on what it is that your family messaging is out there in the world around you. And I think those are part of the conversations moving forward that really needs to allow that space to happen. And I'm glad that in my lifetime, I've seen those changes happening, like those land acknowledgements. And yes, we're working towards how do we do that so that it feels good? Because we're not here to reprimand people, nor are we here to be reprimanded. Us as human beings, we're looking at how do we move forward in a good way? How do we do the best that we can so that we're not being argumentative, we're not being contradictory. We're trying to hear and listen to what the different values, the different worldviews, the different language that's being used, those terminologies to that language that's being used, so that we have an understanding together, like this image here of this family. They said that there's going to come a time when you're going to notice some of these trees are going to start to get old and they're going to start to fall. And then next thing you know, the younger ones, they're growing, learning. And eventually they're going to look around and all their elders are gone because they're looking up like this. They don't see any of their elders anymore. And then they look down and they see all these eyes looking at them. Their children. And they become the ones that are going to share what they had learned. Kind of reiterating again back what was mentioned about the importance of passing on information, passing on knowledge, passing on purpose. As families, you might come from a forestry background, you might come from a environmental background, and it really lays a foundation for your family that are looking up at you, wondering those questions that we all have as youth. What am I going to do with the time that I have here? I know those things cross through my mind. You know, one of the elder trees in my life, one of my late grandmothers, you know, really avid environmentalist, actually to the point where she was considered a radical. But I like to look at her as somebody who was passionate about life and about my life, the future of my life, and her other grandchildren. She didn't ask, can I come and say something? She didn't say, can I be of help? She made it a point to do that on her own will, whether she was invited or not. That's how important she knew that her purpose was, and instilled in me the opportunity to be able to carry on part of that legacy, because she's not here today. She's been gone many years, and I try to do my best to honor her teachings by conducting myself in that way. And again, you know, lots of things that we could talk about, and I'm really glad that we're here talking about them, because like my uncle also mentioned, there was a time that in the foreseeable future, there was going to be no such thing as a status Indian or an Indian reservation. But we're still here, Puti Kuala, we are still here. And then we look at this day and age, why do we have to have that saying, Puti Kuala? Why do we have to tell people we are still here? You know, I was in a room one time and there was all these politicians, I used to be a politician not too long ago. But I was asked in regards to truth and reconciliation and the path forward. I got asked to stand here like I am today to share a few things about truth and reconciliation. And I started off by saying, "Why hustle halti pisnaxiluch and chai squeeze kukulao kintel Penticton." And I said, I asked in the room, who's been here for 10 years? Show of hands. Right? All the hands went up. Right to the point where I asked, 80 years. There was one man in the room, 80 years. He had his hand up. And then I said, man, that's really good. You know, we can all strive to reach that kind of achievement in life. You know, I hope that I'm blessed to be able to witness that day of reaching 80 trips around the sun. I hope that I'm blessed to see that, like that man in that room. And then I asked, of all the hands that went up, who knows how to say hello in Insilkshin? Do you know how many hands went up? At that point in time, this is probably about 6 years ago now. Do you know how many hands went up? One. Mine. At least I know how to say hello in my language. So that's good, right? I at least know that much. I know how to say hello in my language. But I didn't stop there. I asked, you know, who's been to Hawaii? Of course, all the hands went up. My hand didn't go up. I never been. Haven't been fortunate yet. And then I asked, oh, you know, that's good. You know, I'm glad that you made it there. I asked, what's the first word that you learned when you decided you're going to go visit Hawaii? Then you hear in the room, aloha, aloha, echoing in the room. I said, man, that's sure nice, right? You took the time. I asked, who's been to Mexico? Of course, all the hands went up again, not mine this time again. I was kind of feeling a little bit sad, eh? I was like, man, I got to get out more. But I asked, what's the first word that you learned when you decided you were going to visit Mexico? Then again in the room you can hear, hola, hola. And I said, you know, it's really good, right, that you learned to say hello. I said, but it's interesting, we're here and we're talking about truth and reconciliation. I'll back up a little bit. So when they first came into the room, they had their cuffs all tight, their tie right up, their briefcase clutched right close, like they were coming to do business. They were coming to solve the world problems in regards to truth and reconciliation. That was the feeling that I observed and the energy that I felt as they were entering the room. And then I said, you know, of all the show of hands, who knows how to say hello, right? Only my hand went up. I said, we haven't even gotten beyond the point of hello yet. And we want to start talking about all these complex issues. You know, any relationship that we're going to form in our life is always going to start off with, hello, my name is. What is your name? Where are you from? And then we start to get to know each other. But here, you know, if I just went out that door, again, not too far, and asked people, if I said white to them, would they know what I'm talking about? It's like I walk into some buildings like Service BC and I get greeted, hello, bonjour. And then I'll say white. And then they kind of tilt their heads at me, hello, bonjour, how can I help you? And I say white. You know, and I'm just kind of referencing that in terms of where we're at. We're really at the beginning stages. in a lot of ways. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Because now we have a different thought and we have a different feeling about the world that we see, the world that we feel, the world that we're a part of. You know, the gray hairs that was mentioned, maybe some of the worries about when I am not here to do the work that I'm doing, who's going to pick it up? What is going to be left behind? Those are all questions, you know, valid questions that we're all going to come to in some point in our life. And then in this part of the world, in this home that we're a part of, you know, we have some of those knowledges that can really paint a beautiful picture about what is possible. If you go back to some of the earlier writings about the descriptions of this place, what do you read? Was the waters all polluted? Was the landscape all barren? Or did you read about things like there was so many salmon in the rivers that you could literally walk across their backs and not get your feet wet? Is that something that maybe you've read? That there was so many deer, moose, elk out on the landscape that you couldn't count them. From the time that the sun came up, that brand new day, to when the sun went down, you didn't have that much time in that span to count them all. That's how many there were. And then we look at today, where are we at? You know, we can go again, not too far out the door, and you'll probably see deer. And does it cross people's mind to ask why? Do deer like to be around people? Why are they here around us? Is it because this is where the water all is being utilized? Is it where the food is now abundant? Our gardens, our grass, our whatever, our orchards. Is that why the deer are here? Because if we were to ask those tumih, the deer, the things that are living, if they had a voice to share with us, would they say, I like being your neighbor and I like eating your flowers? You grow really good flowers, really good apples, whatever it might be. Is that what they would say to us? Or would they say, you know, I would like to be over there on that really nice mountain, eating all this diverse food that keeps me healthy, that gives my offspring the best chance at survival? Is that something that they would say to us? Like this family here, if they could say to us what they would want for their family, would they say that I want to be standing on the mountain all by myself, like these trees you see out there, all by themselves? Would they say that I have nobody around me to look up to me, to share my knowledge with? Is that something that they would want to say? You know, I don't think so. You know, and again, I'm going to reference our knowledge and what we call our chaptik. That was the voice that these ones gave us. They removed their ability to talk so that we could start to talk. And part of the chaptik, they said that the fish, it gave us its voice. That's why fish, they do this, but no sound. To remind us that we have a voice because of that one. These different stories that we have talk about what they expected of us as their children, because we refer to these tamich as our first parents. They gave us everything that we were going to require to grow to maturity and become successful at whatever it is that we wanted to do in life, to live a good life. They gave us that opportunity. And still they're giving us that opportunity every time the season changes. Right now, things are starting to come back into life after the winter. Things went to sleep. But things are starting to wake up at this point in time. And they're still honoring their agreement. Those flowers are going to start to blossom, which you're going to see. You're going to see fawns starting to be born. You're going to see fish starting to come back. They're still honoring their agreements. And in our language, we have a word called skaltamih. And in loose translation, they say man, but it's more than just a man. See, as a skaltamih, That word tamih is there. And it is my job as a man to help the land. That's what I'm told in our construct. And if I'm not out there doing that, can I call myself a skaltamich? I don't think I'd be able to call myself skaltamich because I know what that word is if I wasn't out there helping the land. Because as a man, I'm told that by helping the land, I'm helping the people. And it's my job to do that. And then I'm told again, that the women in our families, they're the life givers and the first teachers. So again, role and responsibility is what I'm kind of talking about. We all have role and responsibility, but it comes down to the time management of that and how we're going to do that. And are we going to have the opportunities to do that? Are there children that really want to be around us? Those are all questions that we have to ask ourselves, myself included. What can I do to be a little bit better, a little bit more opening, a little bit more encouraging, so that maybe children might want to be around me to learn a few things. Maybe that'll instill some memories and some reflections in myself and some reminders about sharing certain things. And some of the things that I'm sharing today, it reminds me. It allows me the opportunity to be reminded about the things that were shared with me. So I don't forget about them. I don't become complacent. It brings me back to those things that really have teaching and opportunity again in that bringing back to learn a little bit more, have a little bit more understanding now that I'm a little bit older, maybe a little bit more knowledgeable in some things that create some understanding. And I think that's some of what we're going to hear today. All these different disciplines and all these different working parts about what it takes to have a healthy family. And then if we even just take that into our own homes, around our own kitchen tables, and we say, is my family healthy? Is my family the way that I would like to see it as parents, as grandparents? And if it isn't, what can I do to change that? What can I do to provide these ones that are looking to me for direction? Maybe a little bit of guidance, maybe a little bit of information. Maybe even at times allowing them to make their own mistakes too. That's not a bad thing in some context. I thank my mother especially for allowing me the opportunity to make my own mistakes, because even though she told me over and over and over, I still went out because I didn't know, I didn't believe her. And then I found out, what, Mom was right. And I'm not going to do that again because I know, and the next time she shares something with me, you know what, I'm going to believe you. I'm not going to go out and make that mistake and learn the hard way. Those are things that we have as an opportunity as people to do those things. So I guess in that, I don't know how much time I have left. Time? Okay. So, Hiwai Limlim, thank you.